Are we cooking or are we lost in the sauce? Honestly, I don't know on this one. We've got to play it to find out. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another Legacy video. Edge of Eternities is now legal on Magic Online, meaning it's time to test out some new cards. And there's a couple of exciting ones. We're going to test out the ones that might fit into Moon Stompy today. And there are two of those, and this list comes from Mono Red Enthusiast Anubis, regular Discord supporter. Thank you very much for your support. So the first is Tannuk Steadfast Second. So this is a 3/5 legendary Kavu pilot. The Kavu are back, apparently. Other creatures you control have haste. That's fine. What we're playing it for is the second ability. So artifact cards and red creature cards in your hand have warp for 3 mana. Warp is you may cast a card from your hand for its warp cost. Exile that permanent at the beginning of the next end step, and then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So why are we doing this? Because this is a 2 colorless, 2 red cost, which does not fit into the normal mana base constraints of these decks trying to play things that only have a single red pip because of the colorless producing lands that you have. So imagine the world where you play a Pyrogoyf. You get to cast your Pyrogoyf for warp for 3 mana. It comes in, it enters, it does its damage. Let's say that it does 5 damage. It then has haste because of Tannuk's ability, so you get to then attack for 5. It bounces back to your hand, and then on the next turn, you can repeat that. So with a 5 power Pyrogoyf as an example, in the world where your opponent has nothing on board, that is just lethal, right? Warp Pyrogoyf, attack Pyrogoyf, regular cast Pyrogoyf, attack with hasty Pyrogoyf. This is the potential that is there. And it also means that you can do some weird things with Fury, where you cast Fury for the warp cost, it comes in, it domes things for 4, it attacks for 6, and then you regular cast it, a turn or 2 later. So this is going to be one of those times where is this synergy good enough, or is it just better to be playing a card that is singularly powerful on its own? We'll find out. And then there is one other interesting one here. Nova Hellkite. Flying haste, when it enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature an opponent controls. And in the context of Legacy specifically, 1 damage is often killing a Mana Dork or an Orcish Bowmasters. Occasionally, you'll be able to snag something like a Dragon's Rage Channeler as well. So what's interesting here is the warp ability. So for 3 mana, you can warp this in, kill a creature, attack for 4 points as this creature does innately have haste, bounce this back to your hand. When you get to 5 mana, you can then play this again for full cost, maybe pinging and killing another creature and getting in for another 4 points of damage. So my innate question here in looking at Anubis's build and just trying to evaluate it before playing it is what we are doing with these 4 slots more powerful than simply playing something like the One Ring? And the One Ring is a card that I think might eventually be banned in Legacy. And when you can be playing a card that you think should be banned, you often should be. So we're going to find out today whether or not I feel like I am missing the One Ring, or whether or not we just aggro hard enough that it doesn't matter. A secondary concern I have is that if we are on, I think we're on 6 main deck Blood Moon effects, it might be hard to get to 5 mana to hard cast Nova Hellkite the second time around. And if it is just 3 mana, ping a creature, deal 4 damage, is that actually good enough? I don't know. Because there's also this other cute thing, right? Where Broadside exists. So we have a Broadside in play already, and then we Nova Hellkite for 3 mana. We attack in for a total of 6 damage, and then I fling Nova Hellkite for 7, and, that sounds pretty good. As far as the sideboard goes, this is a statement. This is a statement of where Legacy is at right now. Now, you might not board in all 8 of these at the same time. Different graveyard decks really do require different hate. So, for example, against Oops All Spells, Fairy Macabre is not very good, whereas Leyline is excellent. Versus an Echo of Eons deck, Leyline of the Void is much better than Fairy Macabre because you might not have a priority pass to go and get the Echo out of the graveyard. Whereas Fairy Macabre tends to be one of the best things versus Reanimator, as it not only takes out creatures from their graveyard, but also from your own graveyard if necessary, as you have some big dumb things like Pyrogoyfs and Furies that can be a pain in the butt if they reanimate or animate dead. Do I think the deck should be playing 8 of these effects? Probably not, but do I understand the logic of it? Oh yeah, buddy, I do. And with that, let's go ahead and hop into the recording here. Folks, if you need any Magic cards from this set, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're great. Their customer service is top-notch. If you are going to an in-person event, see if they're going to be there. Look for this purple banner. There's usually really great deals underneath. If you're ordering online, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and you always get free shipping. All right, let's battle. All right, let's figure out what this hand is doing. So I go land, Mox, imprint something, and then play a 3-drop on turn 1 and a 3-drop on turn 2, which doesn't actually work out as I have 2 4-drops in hand. I'm not throwing back the hand, but this is ever so slightly awkward. Bloodstained Mire. Sure. Oh, shit. All right. Twist my arm. Mox. One of the 4-drops has to go under here. I wish I could keep both of these. I don't think that's viable. I think I need to follow up with a 3-drop play next turn. Because, like, this plus Pyrogoyf is obviously a combo, right? I think this one goes under, and I throw down the 3-ball. We're going to get something out of my opponent here. Ooh, it's just a Surveil. Let Trinisphere resolve. Opponent's a hater. Blue-black lands plus Tamiyo is a little ambiguous in Legacy right now. Tamiyo is very much starting to become a this goes in every blue deck sort of card. Looks like we're leaning towards tempo here. We'll go to 17 and throw down a Broadside. Land thwarted by another Daze. So at this point, we do not want to see a Wasteland. I need to cast this Broadside, and I also need to eventually get this Pyrogoyf in play. All right, now opponent needs a mana-producing land for something. Yeah. I mean, you can have probably one of your 2 colors here if this Blood Moon resolves. Opponent has used 2 Dazes already. I am fine throwing this Haymaker here. It stabilizes my 3rd land drop versus Wasteland. It might not cut my opponent off of their colors, but it certainly will make things like Murktide Regent harder to cast. And if they, are blue-black, which I am assuming they are since we saw a blue-black Surveil land, that is still going to make their life harder. Does humorously make that land enter untapped. Nice. In terms of damage output, it is better for me to play Pyrogoyf now and then Broadside next turn. But then that does mean that this is dazable and that this is not a removal spell. So I think I am just going to go ahead and throw down Broadside here. I'll give myself a chance to draw a land. All right, damage goes through. I'm not throwing my own Mox here. It's too valuable. Petty Theft. Petty Theft. Now this is a window where my opponent could play a Murktide Regent or whatever. Ooh, a window to fetch is very good. Might mean that I am not replaying my Blood Moon. We'll see. Fatal Push is great. Fatal Push into Murktide is pretty rough. This is a 6/6, and that also happened to shrink my Pyrogoyf at the same time. I think I need to do this. We'll send that at face. I do have, I think, 2 main deck Dead Gones that could, in theory, bounce this out of play. I think it's more likely that I draw something like a Broadside and I just race my opponent. I'm not currently dead on board to Brazen Borrower, but it's pretty close. My opponent plays Brazen Borrower. I might need to throw Mox and kill it if I draw a Broadside. We got another land drop. Oh, fuck me. Oh, come on! What? I'm so fucking upset. I'm dead. I'm dead from 17. I can't block any of this. I take 10, because these have Menace. Sorry, I take 9 initial damage. My opponent gets to throw Murktide for 9 damage, which kills me alone. And then they can also throw another Broadside for 5. Learn to beat Blue-Black Reanimator, as it is the best deck in Legacy while it is legal. Yeah. Anyway, this is why we need Fairy Macabres. Hey, you know what Fairy Macabre is not good against? Murktide Regent. Alright. So In playing Moon Stompy, I have found the experience to be very frustrating versus Blue-Black Reanimator. The sideboard juke of Pyrogoyf often gets around the red removal like Fury and Pyrogoyf, and the targets that you tend to put in your graveyard are very, very, very good. I could go Crazy Person and board all 8 effects since my opponent is specifically playing Murktide Regent in their build as well, which is a card that is good against my deck. It's pretty easy to sub out Trinospheres for 4 of these effects. Boarding another 4 is pretty tough. I can go down on moon effects and just kind of give up the ability to steal free games. So I could do something like this and trim one of these. Nova Hellkite maybe kills Bowmasters on the other side of the battlefield, which doesn't matter as much because I don't have the One Ring, but I still have Fable, and sometimes I'm going to need to loot away the graveyard effects. I'm going to do this. Nova Hellkite is something that if this stuff fails, I don't really want reanimated. I don't want to give my opponent a 4/5 hasty creature. Alright, I'm going to do this. And we're going aggro here. So I'm going to get in there for 2. And then there's a very good chance that I end up just sacrificing a City of Traders to play Simian Spirit Guide as Lava Axe. Just play it and intend on throwing it with Broadside instantly. Ponder does not impact the board. We're good with that. Yuck. I will go ahead and cast this. Did not get dazed. I think I am ultimately happy about. Opponent's at 15. And I am just going to immediately cash that in. I'm not going to try to get 2 more damage out of it at the cost of, like, throwing away the 5 immediate guaranteed damage. I think there's too many timelines where my opponent just goes fetch and Fatal pushes this on the next turn or something like that. Very Macabre is not really what I am looking for right now. The aforementioned Fatal Push. A Bitter Triumph, discarding an Entomb. Sure. Then I will drop a mountain and pass, and I have Fairy Macabre for if my opponent goes after a broadside from my own graveyard. So, does this graveyard hate stop that card? No. Does this graveyard hate stop that card? No. Welcome to the kind of problem of current graveyard hate in Legacy. I will take 2. The life gain's super relevant since I tried to go aggro with Broadside and Fling. Ponder's fine. Alright, and opponent gets another land drop. Alright. See if I can get my opponent to use a Wasteland on a card that I don't care about. Opponent ponders again. So I am always losing this Fairy Macabre to this Thoughtseize. So I'm going to take out some things from my graveyard here. I'll take out the best reanimation target, and I will take a land out of the graveyard, temporarily turning this into a 1/2 instead of a 2/3. My opponent can then wasteland the City of Traders to get their point of damage back. I think they missed it, or they need the mana. There's a Fable. That can let me loot away this other City of Traders. That is worth my opponent's Force of Will. They have consigned a memory boarded in, presumably in respect of the One Ring. This is a 2/3, it can be a 3/4 at my opponent's whims. And they go for an Undercity Sewers. I will take 2 more. 15. Land drop. We are at hardcast Force of Will levels of mana. Opponent's still not going after my city. I will cast a spell. The 2 damage that I do here is insignificant. It is just maybe keeping this in check. And I'm also just attacking into a Bowmaster here. 8. Opponent fetches for another Sewers, junking an Entomb. I'm going to take 2 more, going to 13. Opponent is continuing to play lands rather than saving them for a Brainstorm. This is an other creatures have haste, so this itself is not a 3/5 haster, which is unfortunate. I guess I play this pre-combat, then I have the flexibility of throwing it. Then again, opponent is at 7. This throws for 6 at face. So the marginal life gain here is super relevant, and now it becomes, do I throw this here? I feel like I need to. It's just such a problem card. My opponent is currently not presenting a clock. I'm going to hope that taking that off the field means that I just draw some other dude and win the game with this broadside. My opponent concedes the game there. 2, 4, 6, 8. They are in theory on a 4-turn clock. Thundering Eruption doesn't deal damage. Ancient Tomb doesn't deal damage. Fairy Macabre doesn't deal damage. Leyline of the Void does not deal damage. They were on a 4-turn clock. I do not think they should have conceded there. I had 4 bricks in a row. I can't do anything to get better versus Goyf. My opponent might board out more graveyard stuff as a juke because they know that I have both Leyline and Fairy Macabre. I don't know that I should juke back out of my hate. That is something that I would be thinking about doing if I was the opponent there. Chrome Mox, imprint something. Chrome Mox, imprint something. Fable on turn 1. Be like, imprint, play land, do this, hope to go into this. This is fine. Sometimes I draw an Ancient Tomb, and I don't have to use both of the Chrome Moxen immediately. I don't mind that draw. So, Chrome Mox. Imprint a Shatter Skull Smashing for 1. Play Mountain. Play Chrome Mox. I think I imprint this so that I can play around a Daze with this Fable. I am already to Pyrogoyf mana next turn if this resolves. Let's see what opponent's got. I also realize I'm up considerably on time. I don't think that's going to matter. I don't think this match is going to take 13 minutes off of my opponent's clock. Alright, no Daze. At the point where this resolved and the Daze did not happen, having the extra land is better than the Simian Spirit Guide. Alright. So, now that Archon of Cruelty is a thing and is right there, I probably need to fish for Fairy Macabre, which I think means discarding 2 cards here. Dead Gone is not bad. However, it puts me into a very frustrating position. I can either hold up Dead Gone for if my opponent can put Archon of Cruelty into play immediately right now, or I can play the Pyrogoyf that is very important to progressing my own board and keeping the pressure up. I'm 1 mana short of doing both. This is super frustrating. Like, if they don't reanimate this turn, I miss out on at least 6 points of damage, which does not seem acceptable. But if they reanimate this turn, I am in terrible shape. I think I am going to play towards them not having it immediately, because having this in play with Pyrogoyf is kind of cracked and could brute force its way through an Archon of Cruelty in theory. Things would need to go perfectly, but it is possible. 14. Womp. It is the reanimate. Opponent at 6. We'll get rid of this. I will discard that. I need to draw, I think, a creature here. Fury? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I can cast that. I think what I'm going to do is 5 mana, cast Fury. Hope it resolves. Hope we don't get dazed. Fury hits play. I'm going to mark 4 damage on Archon of Cruelty. With 4 damage marked on Archon of Cruelty, I now think I can attack with Pyrogoyf. Opponent has something here. A Bitter Triumph. That's pretty bad. Just have another one. Oh, you have a Petty Theft. So now I lose Reflection of Kiki Jiki and Fury at the same time. Lovely. So I'm now dead on board to Archon of Cruelty. Best deck is best deck. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Got a bit of a tricky one here. I have a turn 2 Blood Moon with 2 removal spells to get rid of anything that slips into play. I don't know if I should keep this when I have the potential of doing the same thing on turn 1, or have the potential of getting a lock piece followed up by a threat, which is really what I want to be doing with these sorts of decks. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one. This is fine. This is, I think, ultimately a better hand. I think we are going to try to do this stuff first, and then follow it up with this stuff. The Shatter Skull Smashing is the least important card in my hand if I draw another mana source. The issue is that once I do these, I'm only on 2 mana, So I might just want this. I'm going to get rid of the Broadside and really try to lean into the prison stuff here, and we'll loot towards a finisher. The issue with the turn 2 Blood Moon is that my opponent has the possibility of fetching 1 basic in response to me playing the Blood Moon effect. I'm still going to do it, but Blood Moon's not a very good Magic the Gathering card anymore. Like, it is so much easier to deal with and play around a Blood Moon than it was 5 years ago. Savannah, we might be playing against some Maverick pile. A Sylvan Library. Well, hopefully I pressure your life total, so that doesn't matter too much. So I get to play the backside of this. Doesn't cost me life this time. And I think I am now intending on looting away these 2 cards. I think my opponent is already going to have trouble multi-spelling, so I don't think I need to throw down Trinisphere. And I think it's more important to find my Pyrogoyfs and Furies and stuff of that nature that are going to remove the creatures that they do play out. Ooh, just hit basic planes naturally. That's exactly what I'm talking about with Blood Moon being worse than it used to be. Elvish Reclaimer, sure. Alright, we're looting. I want this artifact in graveyard for Pyrogoyf, and I don't think I ever need Simian Spirit Guide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. I am not double spelling this turn. Send it. Make my treasure. Opponent's at 17. I'm going to play a new Fable. I think I'm looting through Trinisphere and Magus. I think I'm going to make this as a land drop. It may allow me to free combat double spell next turn. Opponent's under a fair amount of pressure. I don't know that they get to draw extra cards with Sylvan Library. Ooh, we are stopping Maze of Ith. That's great for me. Ooh, yeah, Broadside's great. We're going to say yes to this. I think I'll loot these 2. Alright, we got a similarly powered thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, there's 3 ball. We've got a crop rotation. It is a Dark Depths. Swords is fine. Opponent can't Boseiju you immediately. Oh, that's just good enough. Cool. I had at least 6 damage this turn. I could Trinisphere, throw, and potentially kill Elvish Reclaimer. How am I going to approach this? I probably want a couple Fiery Confluence. Disruptor Flute is going to have text versus Assorted Lands and Elvish Reclaimers as well, I suppose. Trinisphere, I think, is the first thing that goes. A lot of times land-based strategies just don't care about Trinisphere. Like, obviously they're going to have things like swords and their Sylvan Libraries, their creatures and whatnot. But if you have an Elvish Reclaimer sitting in play, like, even if you can't cast a spell, you just have something else to do with your mana. Depending on the exact configuration of your deck, sometimes you end up going down on Blood Moon effects here so that you don't get just absolutely destroyed by crop rotation effects and then a Force of Vigor or Boseiju or whatever. I don't know that my deck configuration allows me to do that. I'm not getting rid of removal spells. Nova Hellkite is a flying blocker, which is sometimes relevant. 4 or 5 haste damage could be a deal breaker. Let's shave one of those. I don't think I'm going to mess around with the graveyards at all. I don't do anything on turn 1. I have a Magus on turn 2 and a Fury for an opposing creature. This is a medium hand that I'm not excited about. Honestly, I think most of the time I lose the game where I am on the draw. Yeah. Basic Mountain. That seems fine. What red card am I not doing this game? I can maybe get rid of Sundering Eruption. Sundering Eruption is neat if I do stick the Magus, though. Let's get rid of Fiery Confluence. I'm pretty far away from that being good. I think I'll throw down this one and pass. Magus isn't doing a ton here. I might not play it. I might just play a Pyrogoyf using Simian Spirit Guide and killing whatever this is. Yeah, that seems good. 2-3 already. Yeah, and that, I don't think anything is going to change that. 3 and 4 mana. Junk the Reclaimer. And then I can start looking at playing a Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon. And then maybe using Sundering Eruption to blow these up. Okay, well now the Blood Moon is good for a different reason. I could also just play another Pyrogoyf here. We'll do that next turn. I'll do actual factual Blood Moon. I will play this before my Blood Moon potentially gets destroyed. Get lost. Get maps. So I can explore. Activate only as a sorcery. Alright. I am an explorer. Pyrogoyf. Put the revealed card into my graveyard. No. I will draw Pyrogoyfs forever. And as a symbol of strength, we shall attack. Dang. What is this? Lost Cavern of Ixalan's? Ooh. So I play I play Pyrogoyf. I get 5 damage twice, and then I play Pyrogoyf and I get 5 damage. No, sorry, 4 damage. This has a +1/+1 counter. This one is bigger than normal. I think this is better than Magus. I'm gonna think about it for a second. So 8 to face is 10, and then 12 to face is dead. Okay. I think this is better than Magus. So get him, send in, make my opponent tap the Mazavith in case that becomes relevant for some weird Yavimaya-based line. My opponent can now copy a maze, which turns that into a land that doesn't actually produce mana, and I am just planning on 12ing my opponent with triple Pyrogoyf. Doesn't really matter what we draw here. Goyf! Yeah. Goyfing will continue until morale improves. GG's. Okay, we just don't have functional mana here. I have to mulligan this one. Tannuk time? Actually, though? Mountain Pass, Ancient Tomb. Oh god, so much self-damage. I think it needs to be Sundering Eruption Pass. Turn to Ancient Tomb, Spirit Guide, Tannuk. Turn 3, do either Pyrogoyf or Fury. Probably Pyrogoyf? Absolutely feeling this not being a 2 colorless and 1 red card, but this is going to show the upside of this card. So to limit our future life loss, we're going to go ahead and do this. It does mean that I am wastelandable immediately. Basic Island, Tamiyo. Good card is good. Blood Moon is a weird draw here. Oh, that's so weird. Because if I do it, it's harder to cast this card, and by extension, harder to do these things, and my opponent can accumulate some clues in the meantime. But if my opponent is blue-black and I knock them off of black for the majority of this game, then that means that my creatures don't get removed. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Playing Blood Moon from a behind position doesn't feel great. It has resolved. My body is prepared for basic swamp in hand. Oh, it's blue-red instead, and the Blood Moon doesn't fucking matter. Lol. Okay, so this is +1/+1 counter for casting a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw a 3rd card each turn. Got it. No cards in graveyard yet for Pyrogoyf, unfortunately, so this is not removal yet. This also is not removal yet. I think I am going to play the big booty Kavu that does not die to a lightning bolt. It's in play. And I don't think I get to really sideboard too much for this matchup. This is unfortunate, right? Because I'm farting around with all this graveyard stuff. I have, like, maybe 2 Fiery Confluence that I can play to destroy things that look like this and Corey Steelcutter. Fuck, I think I'm gonna have to keep I think I have to keep a Blood Moon in my deck. Hate that. My opponent has Tamiyo Planeswalker. They did this in a way where they don't attack and get the clue. That feels wrong to me. You can attack, get the clue, and still do it. Yeah, okay, you can't fetch. And they did not attack. Makes sense. So my Pyrogoyf is not good right now. This attacks as a 2/5. Attacks as a 1/1. Alright. We're not warping this. Regular cast Broadside. Get Force of Willed. Be unhappy. Pitching another Planisphere. This is quickly growing outside of the range where my Pyrogoyf is going to kill it, and I don't get to attack in here. I don't have any evasion on this creature. Opponent did not crack their clue end of turn. I think my opponent has made a couple of errors here. So the Brainstorm that missed the Tamiyo clue and cracking the clue token. Oh, we're Jeskai. Opponent is just going to hold back that hero token. So I have a 3/4 Pyrogoyf. I don't think warping it is good. I think I need it in play so that when I play the second one, they will see each other. So this is 3 damage. I will send that out to Tamiyo. I think I don't attack in. I think I just chill. I think too many times I attack in and then my opponent Swords to Plowshares one of these, and then I lose both. Opponent now cracking the clue, making a land drop. They have a lot of basics. What is this? You have Lorien revealed. 4th Aerlingas. 8 that. Oh. So my opponent just wants to start the Monarch subgame. I don't really want to start the Monarch subgame. I think I'm throwing away Tannuk. I'm not comfortable starting that subgame. I want to resolve my Pyrogoyf, which I think is going to resolve, and not give my opponent more chances to draw out of it. So there's another Pyrogoyf. So now I get to answer Tamiyo or this hero token. I think I'm answering the Tamiyo. If these Pyrogoyfs are one bigger, I think it's a different story. But I don't want to attack a Pyrogoyf into Tamiyo and then have my opponent double block here. That doesn't feel great to me. Opponent swinging in. I'm going to take that. I have a bunch of aggressive draws. City of Traders is not one of them. My opponent is at 13. And I kill them next turn. Attack for 8, fling for 6, 14 is lethal with a broadside. I think I'm going to stay aggressive. Not having the one ring to draw towards here to fog is kind of a big deal. Alright. Oh, I'm a fucking... No, I'm not. Never mind. I don't know, maybe I need to keep this in play for extra Pyrogoyf. I don't know. I might have punted there. Or I need to just have that in play so I can triple Pyrogoyf and maybe clear the board. It's just so bad. The Tamiyo gets to draw clues here. Is this Flame of Anor? What are we doing? Flame of Anor. Yikes. That transforms the Tamiyo. I take 8. Holding back doesn't change that. Was not meant to be. So the issue earlier in the game with taking out the hero token is that my opponent can just move this equipment around and they had plenty of mana. I don't know that taking out the hero token ends up putting me in a good position. I don't really super want to be playing Blood Moon effects here. I think I have to play some number of them. The enchantment is stickier in this matchup. Magus of the Moon gets thrown by Broadside. Those are the trade-offs. I could also Disruptor Flute for Tamiyo if I want to go down on Blood Moon effects more, which might be necessary. Yeah, let's respect Tamiyo. This hand doesn't do anything. I don't like this one. This hand is also not particularly good. I think I'm keeping it, but I do not love it. I think it is worth going down the card to play Broadside on turn 1. I think the ultimate effect of this is that Pyrogoyf ends up being turned on turn 2. Force of Will. Seems good. So hopefully my opponent fetches and ponders and Pyrogoyf gets a little bigger so I can maximize my damage. This is actually very frustrating because this is a 0-3 and my Pyrogoyf is currently a 2-3. Pyrogoyf currently doesn't kill Tamiyo. Shatterskull Smashing might end up killing Tamiyo. So that I don't massively lose out on tempo here, I'm going to play this. But this game is going south so quickly. Like, my opponent has a 1 mana card advantage engine and a ton of efficient interaction. This is not good for me. I need more off the top here, and I don't have the one ring in my deck to just draw and be insane. Alright. Smash. I need to do 3 damage to that. Does require tapping this. This is not as bad as it looks. Because in theory, I'm going to be able to just Pyrogoyf and attack this. Starting Loyalty is 2 here. So this is a disaster if my opponent also has like a Swords to Plowshares to follow this up. Otherwise, this just happens, and my Shatterskull Smashing basically still kills the Tamiyo, but my opponent gains some life in process. They essentially gained 2 to 3 life by me not attacking them, which, you know, is good, obviously. 15. Flame of Anor clears the board. This is very bad. My Trinisphere slows my opponent down, but they can just hold up whatever interaction they have, and then when I don't do anything they have to interact with, they just draw with their clue at end of turn. Thundertrap Trainer gets Force of Will, not great into Trinisphere. Base. I could hold this. I could hold this for the artifacts. I know my opponent has Force of Will, so in the future they can pass the turn, hold up Force of Will, and crack Clue Token end of turn. I might just cast this while it is guaranteed to resolve. 6 at face. We'll put my opponent to 9. I will take 1 here. So I know that my opponent has Force of Will. However, this card isn't very good. So I'm going to offer this one up to Force of Will in the hopes of doing something better in the future. Opponent didn't even force it. Swords, Flame. Alright, we know about that one. Opponent ponders. And can Scalding Tarn to fetch afterwards. And not having the One Ring is so rough. And that last ponder does flip Tamiyo. Tamiyo goes up. I go down to 12. This land drop is not what I need. I suspect this game is over. Opponent now has so much mana. I am losing, well, not literally, but I feel like I am losing the life total race and the Tamiyo race and the card advantage race simultaneously. Sure. And Planisphere. Broadside gets in there for 1. Well, I kind of need to use my mana. Opponent cracks a clue. And Force of Will occurs. So my out is my opponent fetching on their turn, going to 6, and I draw another Fiery Confluence. That is what wins me the game here. It was a shuffle, which means they're unlikely to fetch. I'll take 2 from this. Thank you, deck. I will concede to my opponent drawing half of their library. GG. So I think once again, we are seeing this card being very awkward as a 4 mana cost card. I, technically could play this on turn 1 and then curve into Broadside. Might just be better to throw this for 7. Basic Mountain, Dragon's Rage Channeler. I might just dead that immediately. Yeah, I think I'm going to take 3, dead this, and call it a turn there. We'll kind of see where the next turn cycle takes us. Probably playing against a blue-red Delver deck or something in approximately that ballpark. Ponder is fine. Opponent getting the basic land on turn 1 means that they didn't get to ponder and then fetch afterwards to only take the 1 card they wanted. Not saying that it's wrong. Basic lands are good. Just pointing it out. Nova Hellkite. 3 card types in graveyard. This could still be relevant. So, I think the way that I'm going to play this is offer up Tannuk to the Gods of Days. This is a card that lives through Lightning Bolt, and this is going to be a good indicator of whether or not my opponent has a counterspell. I have thoughts about this card, by the way, beyond what I have said, but I'm going to save them for the conclusion. Land drop 3, Ori Steelcutter, and make a friend. I do have a big booty. It's really awkward. I might not be able to block, though, because Lightning Bolt is a thing. 2/2 monks don't die here. Okay, so my opponent has Lightning Bolt. How do I feel about that? I think I feel fine with that trade, because then Broadside is not dying to it. So the monk will trample over me and deal me 1 damage. But this bolt is out of my opponent's hand, and then it's less likely that Ori Steelcutter makes another monk next turn. That seems okay. My opponent will have 2 cards, actually. I don't think you matter. Let's do this off this, actually. Broadside, send in for 2. Opponent's at 15. I'm not throwing my Chrome Mox. It's too valuable. Brainstorm is fine. That means that Ori Steelcutter is probably triggering. Ooh, it's not. What does that mean? My opponent had a removal spell. They would just use it here and make their thing and attack. So they don't have a removal spell. They probably have counter spells or lands or something, or situational spells that they can't cast. Nova Hellkite with Warp seems reasonable, although I think some portion of the time it gets countered. I'm hoping it's soft counters like Days that I just beat. As a hard counter, it is Force. Okay. Send in for 2. One's at 12. I still think I am not throwing Chrome Mox. Got Murktide covered. I would like to stop taking damage off my own Ancient Tomb. That resolves. And it is a land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I technically have 6 mana here. Do I want to use all of it? Let's Gone Murktide Regent. 1, 2, 3. Get that out of play. I'm then going to go ahead and cast Magus of the Moon. And it's a big deal whether or not my opponent has a second basic island. If they do not have a second basic island, they cannot cast Murktide Regent that I just returned. They do not have a second basic island. Nice. Magus in play. Now I will send in. My opponent is at 9. Next turn I attack for 4 and fling for 5. I think the game ends next turn most of the time. I'm going to go ahead and broadside throw Chrome Mox in case the margins get a little tight for some reason. For example, if Magus of the Moon can't attack in next turn, they'll want to have 2 + 5, 7 being lethal. Mishra's Bauble, not doing anything immediately, could draw my opponent into an answer for my broadside. The last card is Magus, Murktide, you're not casting that. So whatever this card right here on top of your deck is, needs to kill me. Or, well, maybe not kill me, but stop this from being lethal. It doesn't seem like it is. So that's 3. Broadside, target your face, throw Magus. Threaded the needle on that one. I'm interested in 2 Blood Moons out, 2 Fiery Confluences in. I think that is all I am interested in. I could technically Leyline for Murktide. I've got a couple of main deck Dead Gones that can help deal with Murktide. Hope that's enough. Trinisphere also not great on the draw. I could on the draw. Actually, Trinisphere is rough on the draw. I might Leyline here. Oh, Leyline. Okay. Confirm. I don't think those made it into my deck. Those did not make it into my deck. Well, neither one would be in my opening hand right now, so that's neither here nor there. Opening hand seems fine. I have lands and spells. Delta and DRC. And an immediate trigger. How are we feeling about that? In a vacuum, my best play is Fable. My opponent led on a non-basic land, though. Magus gets dazed, forced, or bolted. Interacted with on a large number of angles. I really only care if Fable is countered. I don't care if my opponent uses a removal spell on it. It smooths my stuff out a lot. I'm going to imprint this. And I want to make more land drops, I think. Do the self-damage is Daze. I think it's just too important to have the option of playing Pyrogoyf as a removal spell next turn without necessarily throwing away City of Traders early in the game. One gets their Bauble redraw. 3 cards, card types in graveyard, so we're probably needing a sorcery to get hit for 3 here. Opponent will know what my next draw is. But luckily I am only taking 1 here. So opponent gets a redraw. Ooh. 1 land in play. I am absolutely into this. This gets played around Daze and Spell Pierce style effects, so this needs to be a Force of Will. I mean, you got it. So that was force pitching a force, so my removal spells are actually pretty likely to resolve in future turns. I don't mind this at all. That's a Volk, a Brainstorm. That was keep a card on top, right? Yep, okay. So my opponent has a card that they like. Miraculously, I am only taking 1 point of damage here. This is great. Cheeky Nova Hellkite? I mean, this is what it's for, right? I think I will warp it here. Good enough for a response from my opponent. You have a Blast. You do have a Blast. That's a card on top. I have seen 1 Daze. I have a window where I can broadside and throw Chrome Mox at this. It costs me 5 life. That's a lot of life, and I would probably take 2 more next turn, effectively making my life total 9. I'm maybe going to do it, though, because Pyrogoyf follows up and probably kills a Murktide Regent. Maybe this is wrong. It does cost me my Chrome Mox, which keeps me from playing the Pyrogoyf, but my deck's 50% mana, so most of the time I draw out of this immediately. Another DRC is fine. Scalding Tarn is fine. Greatness at any cost? Ow. So I have 5, 6, 7, plus 6, not lethal. Because I don't have lethal immediately, I will do this. Opponent goes to 13. Next turn I attack for 7, and then throw for 6. See what my opponent can string together here. I don't get to cast very many more spells this game. I haven't been keeping track exactly, but I think my opponent only hit me for 1 or 2 points of damage with a regular DRC. Preordain, that's not impacting the board. Pyrogoyf is chonky at a 6-7 now. Opponent did keep one of those cards, a Tamiyo. I mean, Tamiyo is 1 blue mana, gain 6 life. But that's not good enough here. My opponent concedes. GG. This is awkward. So I am on the draw here. I can go Chrome Mox, imprint something, play a land, play a Spirit Guide Magus of the Moon, and my follow-up afterwards is not great. I'm also doing this on the draw where my opponent maybe has a basic. I can do a lock piece and remove something like a turn 1 Tameo, or a turn 1 Mana Dork or whatever. I am unhappy with this. I don't know that it goes back. Misty Rainforest. Non-basic land, please. Yes. No. Lost the obvious card. Good thing there's another one on the top of my deck. Damn, Shuffler's not rigged today. Mountain. Mox. Am I imprinting Sundering Eruption? I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to play around days here. I think I need either this red card or this land. Blend in for 2. Opponent's at 15. I'm not going to throw Fury immediately for 7 at face. I'm going to try to get a creature out of this. Brainstorm doesn't impact the board. So now we're afraid of what? Fetch land, Fatal Push would be pretty damn bad. Ponder's fine. I may pitch Fury this turn. Okay, it's possible my opponent is something like Doomsday. I just get to hardcast the Fury next turn. And in for 2. Opponent is at 12. Oh, is it Doomsday? I think this is a 7-point burn spell. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. So target face, throw Fury. Opponent is at 5. And the goal here is lowering their life total so that Street Wraith based lines are not live, and so that past the turn Doomsday lines are not live. And sometimes my opponent is just playing Reanimator or whatever, and this is the wrong line, objectively. This could be Orcish Bowmasters. I think I'm attacking it anyway. Send it. It's not. Opponent is at 3. I have not lethal immediately. I can put my opponent to 1. I don't think I am going to do that when I am in range of hardcasting a Fury if my call is wrong and my opponent is not Doomsday. So we have seen generic blue-black cards. My vibe is Doomsday. I have no indication that I am 100% correct. I probably don't have many things for this matchup anyway. If Fiery Confluence, I can go to face, and I have Disruptor Flute that can name Doomsday. Let's try to board in a reasonable way, where if my opponent isn't Doomsday, I'm not just destroying my deck. This is one of my better cards versus Reanimator, if it is Reanimator. This is probably my worst card across the board. My moon effects are high variance, especially on the draw. The Nova Hellkite is pretty damn good versus Doomsday for just being haste damage. Haste damage available at 2 and a red versus haste damage that takes 2 colorless 2 red and an extra turn. Tough. I think then I'm just going to trim 1 Blood Moon effect. This does not have functional mana. Mountain, Mox, Imprint, something, Sundering Eruption, Trinisphere with some flexibility. This is fine. I'm going to throw back 1 of my 4 drops. Fire Confluence might be better versus Doomsday specifically. Pyrogoyf is much more flexible. Polluted Delta. Another Pyrogoyf. I'm going to play this tapped here so that I A, don't lose 3 life, and B, so it isn't discarded. I think you could make an argument that I am supposed to play out Mox similarly so it does not get discarded, but I might draw a worse red card. Basic Island now. Okay, I think I called correctly. That is Doomsday. My opponent will be at 9. I think Trinisphere is my next play. I don't think Broadside dealing 2 damage immediately is fast enough. Alright, opponent has resolved their pile. We have an immediate Lotus Petal. Cycling a Street Wraith. I could die right now. Brainstorm. Lion's Eye Diamond. So it looks like we're going for a Consider pile. Street Wraith. Or that'll have the same overall effect. And an Oracle. Alright, I died on turn 2. Not too awful much to be done there. How do I feel about Mindbreak Trap? Mindbreak Trap is pretty mid, because a lot of times your opponents will go Dark Ritual Doomsday past the turn, you don't get to the 3rd spell. Or, like, the Mindbreak Traps can sometimes disrupt, but frequently won't. There's a lot of, like, Edge of Autumn Street Wraith piles after the opponent has passed the turn that Mindbreak Trap also doesn't mess with. I could play the extra Blood Moon on the play. It doesn't do a lot versus Dark Ritual, but when my opponent needs to go black, black, black off their lands, it does matter. I'll get rid of a Fury. Fury's not amazing. Like, the best thing Fury does is be a very, very good broadside fling target. I did not look at my opponent's Doomsday pile, which is something you should always do, so I didn't see what, if any, jukes they have. Mindbreak Trap also runs into Trinisphere. Let's call this good here. This is fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. I think I actually slammed the Blood Moon first. The Blood Moon and the Trinisphere are both problems for me in their own right. Force of Negation. So, I now can Disruptor Flute Doomsday with my mana next turn. Unless I get Thoughtseized here. I don't. Mountain. I think I will throw Trinisphere next. Trinisphere absolutely keeps Doomsday from happening. And potentially also shuts off my opponent's counterspells. And if I have Trinisphere in play, Disruptor Flute becomes uncounterable and makes Doomsday cost basically infinity mana. I could do this in my opponent's upkeep, but it's not like they can do any... Well, I guess they could cycle something or whatever. Alright, we'll do it with Flash. I'll do it in their upkeep. 14. Doomsday is expensive as fuck. Now opponent has the ability to interact via a counterspell or something like that. I don't feel good about this warp cost here. I'm dealing 2 to myself to deal 4 to my opponent. I would rather this just be a Goblin Rabblemaster or whatever that just sits in play and accumulates damage. This coming out of play is a major disadvantage here. I would not even counter this if I was the opponent. Yeah, so it resolves. I send in for 4. I heavily suspect that my opponent has a counterspell. Opponent fetches and just considers. Okay, so that now says warped, so we can cast it for 5 later. Okay, good. It does go to a immediately visible zone. Oh, the 3 mana Brainstorm feels bad. Hopefully I draw a land and this gives me a window to resolve a Pyrogoyf. I need to pressure my opponent, or they will get to the point where Doomsday becomes castable. That's a fetch to clear. Table is fine. It's going to resolve. It's going to give me the mana that I need to cast Pyrogoyf, which is a really big deal. It also lets me probably loot through both Trinisphere and Fury. And maybe I end up casting Nova Hellkite 2 turns from now. Attack for 2, opponent goes to 11. Pyrogoyf for 3, they go to 8. Have an attack for 5 plus Nova Hellkite. I'm not really guaranteed to have the mana to do that. Numbers feel weird here. The mighty Thassa's Oracle as a 1/3 blocker. You gotta do what you gotta do. Alright, Chrome Mox is very bad right now. Redundant Trinisphere is very bad as well. So, land drop. Do I play Fury here? So, 5 mana Fury. Attack for 2. Opponent is at 11. The next turn I have attack for 8 plus Pyrogoyf lethal. That sounds fine. Fury. Doink. And in for 2. Opponent's at 11. I guess the upside of Nova Hellkite is that I have a card chilling in exile that can't be Thoughtseized. My Pyrogoyf right now could be Thoughtseized. Street Wraith, when facing lethal-ish on board, doesn't feel great. So we put a win on the board and end up positive in the league. Alright. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Fine. Game 1 Dead Gone definitely did some things. I don't know that I am super keen on either of the Edge of the Eternity cards in this deck. Now, I wonder if playing with this card in a much more unfair capacity is fine. So for example, if you wanted to do some sort of mono red sneak attack style deck, is having this and the ability to just go for 3 mana next turn, I put something into play that probably wins me the game. Like, is that fine? So just spitballing here. There are some very, very stupid big artifacts where casting them for 3 mana can be absolutely backbreaking. It's artifact cards and red creatures. You would have to be doing something else to make this reasonable, like some other Goblin Welder, Goblin Engineer sort of shenanigans like you might see in Painter. But maybe you can do big artifact creatures. You can't do big Eldrazi. But you could do the Blightsteel Colossus type cards that just threaten lethal on their own. Mere Battlesphere is probably not good enough. The Inferno Titan, Fury, Pyrogoyf style creatures are interesting. I think this is a strong card by not Legacy standards. Like, the potential that is here is very real, and I wonder if in some smaller format, like this does something interesting. But getting to 4 mana, passing the turn, and then having another card in hand that goes with it is a tall order, I think. So maybe this provides redundancy to a Mono Red Sneak Attack deck, but I've got my butt kicked the last few times I've tried to do something like that strategy, so I don't know how keen I am on that. So I can see the potential here, I can see the theory here, but we ran into some things today, like with Nova Hellkite in one of those last games there, and self-damage from Ancient Tomb and other lands, where replaying the card later might not be super viable based on your own life totals. Not even counting the damage that your opponent would be doing to you. And I did miss the One Ring. Good card is good. With that, I think I'll go ahead and call it a day here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any thoughts about what we can do with Tannuk to make it more reasonable, silly cards that pair with it, throw them down in the comments below. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!